Come on in the booth.
Come on in, come on in, come on in.
I'm excited to be back here. It's like we were traveling and doing
I
all kinds of
know.
stuff. So,
It's been about a month since we had an
Y'all sound
episode.
a little
do
like, come
we?
on,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
I've never
Okay.
heard y'all sound like that. Fix
But
that.
I'm really excited to be here. I wanted to share this. I did to my story, but we've just been bonkers.
hmm
So I haven't gotten a chance to spread the word. So maybe we'll have a lot of people jump in here on the
Right,
repeat.
right. Or they be live. We send out text, everything.
Oh, good.
Right. But if you missed our last episode, it was episode five of season 2, making moves in media with Mark Clark. So tune into that. You can go to our YouTube channel, look at all of those videos that you may have missed.
The one and only. That was such a fun show.
That
Yeah.
Oh my
was, that
goodness.
was.
Oh, you know what we should have had playing and ready?
What?
The after effects after the episode.
Listen. Oh my
But
god. I
to,
don't know if I laughed that much
yeah, that
all
was.
month.
I don't think y'all know what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
The snake.
Oh,
Oh,
I
oh
totally
yeah, we did.
forgot.
So
See,
we had
that's
a
what I said. I
snake
had
come
it.
in
Yeah.
at the door, and so we had to chase the snake out.
Yes, literally.
Well,
And
in
it
Mar-
chased us around.
It wasn't invited.
No,
No, not
not
at
at
all.
all. But tonight we have Farmer Nell here with us tonight, and we're going to jump in a little bit.
Yes.
All right, we got some people hopped in on here. All right, so y'all, I
What?
know we have all been hearing about it, but much of the east coast of the United States and other border states of Canada has been impacted by this smoke. So the smoke is from wildfires that started in Quebec yesterday. And there have been close to 150 fires in the province of Quebec.
Oh,
So
oh
from
my
yesterday and
goodness.
today, 150 fires. And the smoke is from has moved from several hundred miles, reaching all the way down to Florida. Yeah, the
Really?
smoke has moved all the way down to Florida, and many states, bordering states like Michigan and New York's air quality has been affected severely by the smoke. And the New York Times reports that the smoke has caused the sky to have, in New York, to have an orange effect, and many have brought their face masks out of retirement.
Oh,
So,
oh yeah. I've been seeing face masks are out of retirement, all in
Mhm.
this community that we're in. And then this morning when I walked outside, it just was. It's cloudy. It's real.
Right, a
The
little
smoke.
hazy, and
Yeah.
yeah.
What does it look like in the city now?
It's interesting. In certain parts, you're dealing with it's like, is there a fire around the corner?
Oh
type of
yeah.
vibe.
Uh,
But then the funny, not funny part, like when you go down, my store is on North Avenue, North and Pulaski. But so when you go down to like the Penn North area,
mhm.
um, it's almost like the natural funk and smog of Penn North is actually keeping the smoke out. So it's
Oh.
so it's actually like not as smoky like
Mhm.
in certain pockets of
Um,
of the hood.
wow.
Okay.
It's doing their
Wow.
own bubble of pollution that kept that out.
Right.
They
Right.
countermeasures.
Smoke was like, I ain't even coming to Penn North.
Uh-huh.
The existing smoke said halt.
Exactly.
So,
You ain't coming up so in Maryland, many organizations and schools have canceled and postponed many outdoor events due to the poor air quality. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope it rains or do something. So
Well, we had a trip with our students planned for tomorrow.
Correct.
We always go to the baseball game together, and so we had to even cancel. I know at my son's school, they had an eighth grade boat trip that was canceled as well, and they were tore down about that. But listen, it's so many crazy things in this world. You wake up the next day, you don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So, which I think we're talking about something else going on that we don't know
Right.
what to expect.
So COVID is still running rampant in China.
Mm.
So according to the South China Morning Post, the country is expecting to have 11 million cases a week of COVID in June.
No, not 11 million.
11 million a week. So if we
Oh.
do that times 4, that's 44 million cases in total for just June.
Okay, so wait a minute. I got questions.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. So are people dying?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So
Okay.
people are dying. So China is still trying to fight off this COVID variant called Omicron XBB.
Hmm.
But one Chinese respiratory expert is saying that they're really trying to underestimate the effects of this variant. They said, they might be some Chinese agency said 11 million cases a week. This expert is saying he thinks it's going to be 65 million cases per week
What?
for the month.
Okay, so
So,
what are they doing? Because I know at one point they had started, cracking down. People had to, well, I know they all have to still wear
mhm,
masks
right.
now. So what are they, keeping people
Mhm,
inside?
mhm.
What's going on?
So it's just the same, taking the same precautions. Nothing, not much has changed with that because they have over a billion people. Their
Yeah.
population is over a billion people.
Oh my
So
goodness.
as overcrowding, some people might be saying keep putting variants out there because,
Population
yeah,
control.
population
That's what they
control. Not enough people have died off.
uh,
So it's like, okay, well, let's put out this another variant so they can get them out here.
wait,
That's
hold
alleged.
on. It seems like somebody has
Go
something to say
ahead.
about that.
I don't think we have enough time.
Go ahead. Just give the people a little bit. What are your thoughts?
On which part?
Uh, okay, let's just talk about the population control or the COVID-19.
Oh, it's
Oh,
Wherever you want to start.
I mean, it's safe to say I do not, I can't, confirm or deny, what he's speaking upon. I just know that there's alternative methods to deal with it. Is I'm dealing with that um, directly with some of the products that I make to help, you know, address different parts of the body and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's an agenda out there, but I also think that there's
Talking to the mic a little bit.
oh, so yeah, I think there's my bad.
You got a deep
Yeah, you
voice.
got that deep voice, Barry White.
Pardon me. So I think there's an agenda out there, I would say, which could be in alignment with like population control and things of that nature. But I also think that there's like health um, factors that deal with it as well. And then I'm not convinced with the mask. And unless they're wearing like KN95s or N95s with a face covering, you're really not particularly preventing yourself from getting the microbials of the Omicron. And like the variants keep changing. So in that, they keep
Mm-hmm.
getting smaller and smaller. So
Mhm.
even the mask isn't protecting. The mask actually becomes an agent to actually continue to give it to yourself if in fact you do have it because you're breathing that in and out. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I mean that's a whole thing over there. I think that it's cleaned up in here. For me, it in a lot of ways it was like a hyped up rebranding of the flu.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how it affects um, communities now. But it's ongoing and it's changing. So I think that the more information that we get, we'll be able to kind of discern what's what.
Well, you know what? I can't wait to jump
Mhm.
into some of those products that you have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so they
yeah.
they are
Uh-huh.
expecting in this wave, they're expecting less than a million deaths. I don't know if that's good or bad. But because of all this happening in China, we know that's kind of where I started from. Do y'all think it's going to be another wave to hit the U.S.?
So I can't remember the guy's name, but I'll call him the new Dr. Fauci.
Okay.
He basically said that we need to, be prepared because, it's not over. And that, some now I don't even think that they would shut the US
yeah,
down.
again, they're
Like,
not
yeah,
doing
I
that.
don't think that
Yeah,
they would
they're
Mhm.
do
not doing
that.
that again.
But I do think people will probably get sick and they won't talk about it.
Mhm.
And that's just my personal opinion.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, question for you all and for our viewers: do you
Okay.
want an armed driver while using a rideshare? So,
I,
like using an Uber or Lyft, do y'all want somebody who's packing, somebody who got a gun on them?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Okay.
I don't want to get in anybody. First of all, I'm leery about Ubers and things like that.
Okay.
But I have done them. I have done them. I do them. But no, I don't want because I'm not packing.
Mhm.
I don't have any
Okay.
weapons on me. I don't want to get in the car with you and you have weapons on you.
Okay. So there's an Atlanta-based rideshare company called Black Wolf App. that allows you to hire an armed driver. So the company was created by Kerry King Brown,
Mhm.
who was a bodyguard for celebrities and politicians, and he was providing transportation for one of his friend's children when he came up with the idea that everyone should have accessibility to that same safety that he's providing the child.
Mhm.
And this was due to the rising crime rates and shootings that is happening in the Atlanta area. So the Black Wolf app drivers are persons who have worked in the military, law enforcement, or private security sector for a minimum of 5 years.
Oh, okay.
So now, after hearing that, would you want an armed driver?
Okay, so is it like armed driver slash bodyguard type of situation?
They ain't say all of that.
Yeah,
I
because
don't.
that's what my question lies. It's like, okay, you got the strap driver and you pull up in a situation like at what? How much does that cost? And at what comes with the package? Like, all right, that means he gets out and
What
he's
do
banging.
you
You know
mean?
what I'm saying?
That's what
So
I'm
then,
thinking.
so then like,
Exactly.
like brothers just calling them up when they got beef. Like, I need you to pull up on, me
Right.
on the corner. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot of ways to look at that
That's
differently.
what I'm
Right.
talking about. Yeah,
Right.
and so
And
but I like what you said. What package are you getting?
right. Right.
Is it the you know what?
You just
Somebody,
strapped
yeah,
package,
Yeah.
you know what I
exactly. You
mean?
just strap
And you
because you
show
just
it, you know what I
showing
mean?
it,
Are
or
you
is
pulling
it
it
that
out?
we pulling up and you jumping out? Or
Right.
is
Yeah.
it the package of?
I don't know. See, they didn't go
Yeah.
into that much detail of like what extent they will go to protect the
The passenger,
passengers.
Right.
But
That's
then,
it.
but then somebody could think, okay, what if you get drunk people that acting belligerent, and then y'all get in a confrontation? You all right, then shoot you down because
but
people
you,
need
but you know what? I want to investigate that because I'm so curious to know: are there packages,
right,
So
packages
right,
of packing?
uh,
because the concept of it in theory and by design and how the makeup from what you're explaining, I'm there's no pushback on that. I
mhm,
just had questions.
right,
When you first mentioned it, I'm thinking like, oh, Uber and Lyft drivers
Mm.
are packing and it's being stated on the app that that's an armed
Mm.
driver.
Yeah, that's what I
mhm,
was
Like, you know what I'm
thinking.
saying? So
Uh-huh.
whereas though I can't say that like that's like a taxi cab driver, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
somebody could be like, all
mhm,
right, and no matter how like people play games and scam with the apps and all of that. So if somebody wanted to drive, like, all right, I'm gonna be drive strapped because this is my livelihood and I'm doing this
Yeah.
each and every day. And then there's a notification on Lyft that armor that
Driver's arm.
and then you
Mhm.
don't and you could be like, all right, I don't want to ride with him, or I feel safe riding. Like you have a choice.
mhm,
That's what I
Yeah.
thought that was
right,
Yeah,
like.
that's the
right,
way I thought it was going to. But
right.
now you're
So,
saying, listen, this is a
Yeah, you got a whole
service.
bodyguard
Right.
Uber service.
right.
You
Exactly.
taking them
So,
to the prom. You got like
right, right.
that's all. That's
But you know what? It may be good because your child is going somewhere and you want this protection. Hey, I mean, I don't know because it could go south
Mhm,
real fast because you
right,
don't know the mentality of that driver. Well, I don't know, but you did say that they were trained and all that.
right.
But
So,
Yeah, I
uh,
just need answers on like, okay, if I'm going to my destination, you're driving.
right,
If somebody does pull something out, how's this about to work? Like, are you driving, pulling it out? I just need answers.
and
right,
Like, how does this
right.
work?
and we as a people in a culture play stuff out real fast. And so what I mean by that is like, all right, now the youth gets a hold of it, and
Mm-hmm.
now we talking about
Mhm,
like literally like we're talking about proms. To what extent is this? And then the back end of it, it builds a culture. And just hear me out,
hmm,
a culture of potentially fear mongering. And now there's a need for bodyguard
Mm.
at every point.
oh yeah,
mhm,
So
yeah,
not so
no,
so like yeah, I'm all for safety in terms of danger,
right.
but I'm not a supporter of creating fear.
Right.
If
right,
that
Mhm,
makes
no, that's
sense.
No,
facts.
right,
that's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
right,
yeah,
true.
right.
no, that's
Yeah.
facts.
Mhm,
No,
Hmm.
that's
mhm.
very true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we will.
Or real quick, or even getting your kids, because I know you said this one driver did it for a child, or
Mhm,
making them feel, because at what point do they feel secure just
Going
going
out.
Well, now
Mm-hmm.
you
being
mhm,
well now
them?
that's your standard of treatment. So now you feel insecure without it.
Yeah,
When you're an
Mm-hmm.
adult,
exactly.
mhm.
like
When
oh,
you're
I
an
feel
adult.
like I'm shook because my mother had a security Uber
Mm-hmm.
everywhere I went.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and granted, some you got some high profile or you know everybody's getting to a bag in different directions and they have children and so like you know who's to say what? And then or a
Mm-hmm.
bully at school, or you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
how
Now they're calling the Packer. No.
Right,
so that package where he's just gonna show up,
Right.
like, yeah, back up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right,
Exactly.
right, right,
Don't shoot.
Yeah. Don't
Don't
shoot.
shoot the package.
Just show.
right, right.
Woo. I
Right.
got
Oh
questions
my
though.
goodness. I do
Yeah,
too.
so we will look into more into that. So all right, y'all.
And
Yeah.
on that note, we're gonna get into the show.
Yeah. All right. We got some people in in the booth. I was trying to see who it was.
Yeah, I know you always
It's-
over here.
I know.
I
I'm always,
mean, always on this
because you
computer.
know what I think it's some funny comments. Somebody said, what are they saying? Yep, we are back wearing masks, y'all. And then somebody else said, uh,
There it is.
Pepper
It's on the
spray and
screen.
stun gun is sufficient for me.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
Okay.
they followed up and said,
List them.
what they say?
In Texas, we carry so there's that. Oh, so she said every time she get in the Uber, is an armed woman.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. Yep. So depending upon the geographical location.
Location,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Dominic now, Farmer now. We
Mhm.
go way back, by the way. So wait, is there a bio?
No, we don't. We haven't read. We don't read the bios anymore. We just give a.
We
We
Oh,
let
let
is
them-
that
them.
what we doing?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he may want a formal introduction. It's all good. So listen, we go way back. Oh my goodness. So many years. And I'm only 20.
Decades.
So
Decades
but
at this point.
okay, so for everyone who doesn't know, including PJ and Lo, tell us about your upbringing and how you got started or how you even wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Some people might not like that answer.
All
Uh
right.
oh.
was- I
Hey,
was-
keep it real. That's what we do in the booth.
So, a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, um, I was introduced to Monopoly. I was a Monopoly head growing, playing up. And then there, one Christmas I got a board game, uh, Trump Plaza Hotels.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
And so, like, through the vehicle that they were selling that, it was almost like that era's Bill Gates is like, this is the richest and blah, 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 blah. And so just learning with bankruptcy and like, assets and you can have more than one business kind of was through the vehicle playing that game and also watching just other entrepreneurs who at that time, dating it in the 80s, he was very front street with that.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I was able to kind of just mimic like at Vince McMahon and Russ, like anything that I was interested in, I looked at like who owned the mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
or even World Connections Travel, like
Eh,
like who was the boss? You know what I'm
exactly,
saying? Like, all right,
right.
if they paying us bonuses, like even at that age, I was like, okay, if we're able to get paid bonuses for turning in these slips and what was it? Timeshare travel
Oh
packages and
yeah,
all of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I'm like, how much money is this whole machine making? So
Mm-hmm.
my mind couldn't really, unthink that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't really built for like Burger King jobs and things like that. Mentioning that because in college I worked for Burger King and kind of just figured a way to just kind of clock in and not stay and then come back and
The
clock out
hustle.
and then take all the burgers and chicken sandwiches and whatever that they was gonna throw away and then sell them on the campus.
Oh,
So
wow.
I had towards that America, I had a very deviant mind state towards the vehicle where they were kind of shooing us in,
Mhm.
whether at the college level, even playing sports, and like kind of try to find a cheat code or a different algorithm to anything. And so hence all of that, my lifestyle was, I was raised like vegetarian, and even though I had access to different relatives that ate different things, I was allergic to most everything. like like
Mm.
nuts, milk, as far as at that time. And so
Mhm.
it was like years before the EpiPen even was a thing. So relatives were always using home remedies, and
Mm.
from South Carolina to Jersey Shores and all throughout Maryland and Virginia. Just grandmas and aunties all had their different version of how to help give them here. How to help the
Mm.
sickly
Mhm.
child.
Mm.
And then so the sickly child grew up to remember those things and so
Mm.
on and so forth. I mean, the story is kind of deep when it's like, okay, there was the John Hopkins asthma study. I was the only black boy in the initial wave of that study, and learning about what placebo was and things of that nature. So at a young age, like by age 13, I didn't have faith in the medical system. I was like,
Mm.
all right, this
Mhm.
didn't work versus um what my peoples gave me
Yeah.
for
Okay.
real in real life. So I'm
Mhm.
not in it. So I wasn't gonna sit there and be fooled by something that actually worked for me and the things that didn't work for me.
Mhm.
And so
And so, if your family was giving you, I guess, at home or natural remedies, then what um made or prompted your mom or your family to go the traditional route?
so mind you, like we're dating the time, we're talking about mid 80s. We're talking he has asthma. So your kid can get in this John Hopkins asthma study. How's that
Mm.
gonna sound? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
albeit grandma and all them know that my grandmother was my first grade school teacher, still
Mhm.
my first grade school teacher.
Mhm.
But in that, she's doing what America is selling her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
knock any of the. I'm glad I went through those experiences to be
Mhm.
able to,
Mm-hmm.
tap in now and to be able to see that at a young age and not buy into it, to have experienced it in the first like 2 decades or less of my life, to get a
Mhm.
concept of it. So by the time I went to college, I was like, man, I ain't with none of this. I went to school down south,
Mhm.
so they eat every part of the animal in certain parts. So
Mhm.
growing up from fishing and hunting and things of that nature, being skilled in that, but never really having the stomach for it. Like I don't want to
Mm.
kill Bambi unless like
Right.
that's all that's like
Mm-hmm.
survival. I was like, okay, if I needed to survive, I could do these things. But if I'm
Mhm.
looking to like live a civilized lifestyle, like how I'm being raised to be,
Mhm.
then that those things didn't fit into what was civilized to me. To me,
Mhm.
it wasn't
Right.
even like vegan and all of that stuff as a culture wasn't like prevalent for me to be inspired by it.
Okay.
So now it's like, okay, now I almost feel like I can get away with the stuff. Like my homeboy say, man, he been saying this stuff since we was at Church Lane and Deer Park, running around. You know what I mean, playing
Mhm.
basketball, and I'm drinking water, eating carrots and celery on the side. The
Mm.
butt of the joke
Mhm.
in most cases. Um, but then years later, it's like, okay, yeah, he was on that stuff for years.
Mhm. And so how do you do that? So, we here grinding, you know, every day, and then you're starving because you forget to eat. We're in the ground beating the pavement. So this is something that I'm just asking. I'm sure a lot of people want to know. It's like, so you're living a vegan lifestyle. First, let's talk about what it means to be vegan, and then I want to talk to you about how do you sustain that when you're living these busy lifestyles.
Okay, so I'm gonna address what you said, starving. So
Hmm.
we gotta unpack that. That's
But
we
well, first, what is it to be vegan? What does that
Okay.
mean?
All right. So being vegan means that you don't participate in any products of any nature that are derived from any animal.
Okay.
So it means you don't. And so what I would classify myself in these stages of my life is more as plant based. And
Okay.
what that means is because that's what my diet reflects
Hmm.
um, in the 98 percentile of it. And I can
Hmm.
get to that a little later.
Okay.
Um, and so being vegan means you're not wearing furs, you're not
Hmm.
wearing leather shoes. You're looking at the ingredients of your clothes. You know what I'm saying? Your
Hmm.
products, like, okay,
Okay.
like does this detergent have some, animal byproduct in it?
Hmm.
And so you're really living a rigid, intentional lifestyle. Vegan is more of a lifestyle, and plant based would be the diet of that lifestyle. Is kind of
Okay.
how I,
Okay.
it's kind of how I
Hmm.
explain it. Um, And then so what I help what I designed for people is like, okay, a plant-based 360, almost like a power 52.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no pun intended, but plant-based 360 is like, okay, there's 365 days set in a year. So the goal being 360 days to be plant-based and allowing
And I like
yourself
that Power 52. We
uh,
need to do a challenge or something. But
yeah.
anyway,
So
look at love.
Mhm.
She's like, I can't do
so
it.
allowing
Uh-huh.
yourself that
Mhm.
5 day space to not even call them cheat days, but just to say like, okay, you're allowing your body to do something else
Mm-hmm.
with it,
Mhm.
and that's just a challenge in that, you know what I'm saying. And so we do events such as this upcoming Monday, Meatless Mondays. We're gonna have that at my store, Be More Green,
Mm-hmm.
from 4 to 8 p.m. 2036 West North Avenue.
There
Oh,
you go.
we definitely
You
gonna
go
plug you
good.
now.
But and so I come out with what I call carrot dog. So rather than say, hey, you could do this and third, I'm like, all right, well, I marinate and grill carrots on the grill and prepare them like a hot dog. And so rather than making something like how they have like, which I'm not totally against, but like Impossible meat and
Oh
burgers,
yeah.
I'm not with extra processed stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to show people what you can do that's more cost effective than a hot dog and actually healthier for a child.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
so if we're having children or if we're having programs that are focusing on children, I'm challenging them like, all right, like you give them book bags and you send them to schools that got all these great resources and you keep giving these hot dogs and hamburgers at these back to school
Mm-hmm.
situations. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm challenging everywhere. It's not a knock. It's just like, okay, what are we really doing? What's really in it? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hear that, oh, they just kids. Like, so you're giving them the garbage end of something. Like it's cool if you want to eat that. Like I'm saying, if somebody's an adult and
Mm-hmm.
you're cognitive saying, "Hey, that's what I want to put in my
Mhm.
body,"
Mm-hmm.
fine, and I'll make the stuff to help you, get it out of you when and if it affects you in an ill way. But like we're asking the brains to still develop and learn by me being a school teacher as
Mm-hmm.
well. They're coming in first and second period, drinking coffee, Red Bull, and
Mm-hmm.
power drinks, um, Gatorade,
Mm-hmm.
honey buns,
Mhm.
sugar, and
Mm-hmm.
all this. And if you really take down what this equation is doing to this individual, and then you're sitting here wondering why they're acting a certain way. When we
Mm-hmm.
talk, so I'm a behavioral therapist and also a clinical mentor. So I I know how food affects behavior. So like the Be More Green build out was more of like how do we study the behavior and how does our environment affect that, but more importantly, what are we putting in our body to support the things that we're asking ourselves to do and asking our, what I mean,
Right.
but the change that we're looking for, but how are we supporting that in a real way, not
Yeah.
just saying like, oh yeah, we need to do this as a people. Okay, we need to have more black owned businesses. Okay, in the hood, all right, I did that. We need to
Mm-hmm.
have accounts in black banks. Okay, got the Harbor Bank account. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through the checklist of saying, hey, this is to set, not even setting an example as a pioneer. I'm not even gonna say that. It's just saying like, okay, this is what it looks like.
Right.
If you follow the checklist of what they say,
It's
on,
needed.
on
Yeah.
our end
Mhm.
of what we
Mm-hmm.
need to do versus
Mhm.
the other days in that equation, then this is a version of what it could look like.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so, okay, so let's circle back to okay, guys. They said it's not vegan unless you want to do the whole 360 plant based meals.
And not
Okay.
wear leather
Uh,
and mink coats
right. So
and
that's the vegan lifestyle. No
right,
mink coats, no leather shoes, no leather belts, no dairy, no milkshakes,
cheese,
no
eggs.
cheese, eggs. Okay. So I need to see in the chat who's willing to give that up. Okay. Next, he's going to tell us how we can do the plant-based diets. I want to explore that.
Right.
So I know I said we're here beating the pavement. We look up and literally it's 2 o'clock. So we haven't broken out fast. We haven't had anything because most of us here we don't have a chance to eat breakfast. We're just like ripping and running. Most of us have water bottles here, and so we're drinking water and staying hydrated. But then we're like, oh my goodness, we are so hungry. Like, what are we getting? And so many
Mhm.
times the stuff just won't let up. So then we'll end up just ordering a pizza or something like that. And so we're like, we want something healthy, but how can we, get something healthy? We already know that the whole meal prepping thing, okay, that's an answer, to the problem. But if we're just here and we haven't brought food, what do we do? What do you do? I mean,
So
I so want to know this.
so first, well, two key facts that we need to consider, like kind of even say it to ourselves or even saying it
Mhm.
say it out loud is, um, we have three first foods. Like when we come into this, into this world, and we're coming out of water, so that's
Mhm.
one of them.
Mhm.
Liquid and water, and then air, oxygen, and then you have sunlight. So that's why we're more plant based than what we realize because we require sunlight, we require water, and we require oxygen. This is
Mhm.
what we require. So once we establish that, then you ask yourself when you're eating something, how much water, oxygen,
Mhm.
and and sunlight is in what I'm eating.
Mm.
So then that, so if you're looking at a candy bar versus a hamburger versus, an apple, a salad, or, what I'm saying, your body, your mind and body can kind of connect the dots of what it wants and what it needs. And then what it's addicted to. It's addicted to the sugar. It's addicted to the caffeine. It's addicted. You know that, what I'm saying, because of the, you know, the carbonated, whatever.
Mhm.
So, okay, that sounds all fine and dandy for everyone else. So what, big deal, blah, 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 blah. Well, to couple it with what you were talking about, the starving thing. Starving is far more complicated than that. So you're speaking of times where you're and not eating is referred to as fasting.
Mhm.
And so the body requires a fast at least once a week. Wednesday, I would say, is a good day to do that. And what that means is that you wake up, maybe drink some water, drink some tea, and then go throughout the daytime without eating anything. And then at night, what I'm saying, maybe eating, something mild, like a portion of something, and then going to sleep. So then the body gets to be able to rebuild itself in that process. Um, Now, there's also different times of days that are, recommended to eat certain things. You know, at 8 p.m. because the body starts to repress bowel movement. And then the brain starts to go into a mode where it's going to rejuvenate itself. So if you're eating late, drink, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So like we're basically without knowing these small things, the things that we're actually doing is taken away from ourselves as we
Mm.
go, and we're
Mhm.
we're
Mhm.
serving something that's not ourself.
Mhm.
Um, so with that being said, you get to moderate things, but I'm not here to tell everybody, hey, you need to go plant based, you need to go vegan. I'm saying this is what it looks like and how it works for me, and this is how
Mhm.
it can work for you, or these are the challenges, plant based 360. So it's like, okay, you can set up if you want to break 5 days down into hours, then you can
Mhm.
say, okay, once a month I'm going to have a bushel of crabs, or I'm going to do this, that, and the third,
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be. We come from a seafood town. I'm not
Mhm.
totally utterly against seafood, but anything that pretty much flies or is on land, I don't choose to eat.
Mhm.
So, but that was me before this became a trend or things of that
Mhm.
nature. It was
Right.
like when it wasn't cool or trending or whatever. It was
Mhm.
like, all right, that's how I just chose to be. And then religiously, from both sides of my family, like we ate fish on Fridays.
Mm.
So, with that being said, um, when people look to call something what it is, I say you want to call it yourself a reducitarian. If you're reducing your meat or animal intake or things that you recognize is not serving your body as well as something else could, and
Mhm.
then so that's giving you kind of control of it. So I would encourage you to fast. Smoothies and juices are always a good way to go,
Mhm.
um, especially smoothies for like for lunch. If you wanted like a basic meal plan, I recommend people like, all right, you can eat like tuna fish on toast with potato chips, and then like a basic maybe salmon, what I'm saying, a vegetable, and maybe a potato or some rice or something. Like if you come up with like the same meal over and over again, and you just change the spice, maybe use a Jamaican spice, maybe use some Indian spices, and but changing the taste of the same thing.
Yeah, and you know, so you're the second person. Well, I know somebody else, a friend of mine. He told me and my sister that he's like, I eat the same thing every day, and because if I just switch it up, then I'm going to want something else. You know, just stay right there.
Or
Mm.
save it for when you go out. Like I tell people, like, all right, give yourself a regimen during the week, and as soon as Friday night hits, have at it. You want to have a pizza, a bucket of chicken, and at once, go ahead. Saturday, have at it, and then Sunday is the reboot. You meal prep for the rest of
Mm-hmm.
the week.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So if you want to, go ham, like I said, soon as you get off work Friday night,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
then that allows you to actually enjoy that bucket of chicken rather than
Mm-hmm.
that
Mhm.
being your go-to each and every
Yeah.
time. And that's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? That's just a suggestion. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then people can see when you moderate eating some of those things. Sometimes you eat it like, man, I don't
Mhm.
even want to eat. You might not, you're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
eat as much of it.
Yeah.
Drinking more water, I'd be remiss not to mention that. Drinking a glass of water before you eat also helps with
Mm.
digestion and also helps you eat
Mhm.
less. And,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so that's also a key fact that I would, strongly. And just eating raw vegetables, like, in if you're not looking to reduce your meat intake or junk food intake, then I would challenge you to add raw vegetable fruits and vegetables to it,
Mm-hmm.
and that alone, and then fast in the middle of the week. Give your body some time to give your body to give itself a break. Some of us that have been doing some of these things for decades are creating, the ailment inside ourselves that's going to happen, a decade from now that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we got to be mindful of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're going to the human mechanic, aka the doctor. I already told people how I kind of feel about that, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
knocking it. It's more of a business for me than it's more of cure. It's treatment as opposed to cure. I'm look to create products to help people heal themselves, where
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
it's cure as opposed to, hey, keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like if
Mhm.
somebody has an ailment, I want to give them something and I want to never see them again. You know what I mean? From
Mm,
that
right.
regard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So tell me
Mhm.
about Be More Green. So what's offered there? How did it come about? And then ultimately how can um the residents, tap in?
So Be More Green is an extension of my business called City Weeds. And ultimately Be More Green just started off as my youth programming in the school systems.
Okay.
Mhm.
In 2016, I didn't want to go in there with like City Weeds as the program.
Mhm.
Um, I could have I could have made
Mhm.
it
And why
creative.
not? No.
Well, this was elementary school, so
Mhm.
I was like, being an educator in my own right, being mindful of that, and so the program was Be More Green, um, Be More Green, like so it would have the sound of Be More in it, but it would be more of a statement, and
Mhm.
so did that for several years, and then when I ended up getting the brick and mortar, I had an opportunity to say this would be City Weeds, and I was like, no, this feels more like Be More Green, and so it
Mhm.
extended out. I was already doing community outreach and food giveaways, and so now I just created the space in um, the store to do the programming in the store, and so
Mm.
basically to help people understand what that means is it's on North and Pulaski, North Avenue and Pulaski Street, and so right on the corner. And so we wanted to redefine what goes on the corner by
Mhm.
redefining goes what the corner store is and what that experience is.
Yeah.
Since that's been a
Mhm.
vehicle in our
Mhm.
neighborhood, and it's also
Mhm.
from liquor stores to corner stores, now and later is chips, and there's generations that have grown up off of corner store food and options and things of that nature, and that kind of needs to be looked at as a factor of health and behavior.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Yeah.
so rather than me just talking about it or mentioning it or complaining about it, like, okay, using that as a vessel to teach the community youth and as well as the community how to grow for themselves,
Mhm.
being an access point for free food, so everything we grow we give away or we process it into something, and then it's kind of each one teach one method where you know, it's a community center more so than a corner store, but in the corner store form.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then we have our partners for my kids that are right above us.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
You know, Jarrell has been working with youth for years, and so we address mental health. They address housing, and so basically we're addressing food, clothing, and shelter at its baseline. If we're referring to Maslow's hierarchy of self-actualization,
Mm-hmm.
people won't reach to even a level of self-esteem without even mastering food, clothing, and shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
so,
yeah.
Mhm.
and so, realizing that being in that area where 21217 zip code, those needs are very high. So, what wraparound services can we
Mhm.
apply to food justice and food rescue
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature? And also building up the awareness of how that's as important as having new shoes and new
Mhm.
clothes and new pens and backpacks for school. And
Exactly.
like, so we need to be, mind, body, and soul ready, um,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then come up with solutions of our own rather than looking
Mhm.
towards a system that we're supporting to kind of help us.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Exactly. So, I actually
Mhm.
was at the Department of Energy yesterday and a keynote speaker for this grant, racer grant kickoff.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and so thanks.
Mhm.
And so basically, I think they wanted me to probably come in with, talking about, I don't know, all this technical stuff. And I was like, no, anytime I'm on this platform, I want to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. How do we how do we
Mhm.
make our marginalized communities resilient? And so just talking about just what you're talking about, just food insecurities and no access. And so
Mhm.
just driving into what does access look like and how does access, empower our communities and really, where does this whole, environmental justice and,
Mm.
and food justice, what you're doing, how do they intersect?
Intersect.
And then
Mhm.
how do they become, how do we push them both so that our communities are resilient, you
Mhm.
know?
Well,
And so people are like, well, what's resilience? So if you have what you're doing, have what we're doing, it's like we say, we none of us have our t-shirts on, but resilience, the ability to bounce back regardless. So the ability to be off the grid and sustain, the
Mhm.
ability to not have the grocery stores and sustain. So,
Mhm.
and all those types of things. So I don't know, I could go on and on about that, but
well,
it's just interesting. You're just tapping into
Mhm.
our world a little bit here.
so right on point. Language and verbiage is key. So, um, you said how do they intersect? So it's interesting that you said that because it's two things. In my conversation now, it's expanded beyond the food justice and so it's environmental justice. And so I teach environmental science at the College of Southern Maryland as well as plant botany. And so the goal is addressing the environment because now we're looking, I'm in the clean air, clean land, and clean water business.
Mhm.
It's because all of those things are involved in food justice. If we want to take a
Yeah,
fractal
no.
or a
Mhm.
microcosm of it,
Mhm.
so okay, now it's environmental justice. So from layman's terms, to not let the whole farmer know thing not get played out, I've opened up, you know, the um the lexicon of what the body of work
Mhm.
looks like.
Mhm.
And food justice and the work that I've done prior to this and continue to do is just a proof of process that I
Mhm.
use to leverage. Now when I go partner with larger organizations, I'm coming in as a solutionist. They're thinking that they're
Mhm.
getting farmer now and they're helping be more green,
Mhm.
and no, I'm the guy that's going to come in with my team and our trainings to help you with your DE&I initiatives
Mhm.
because you have a budget for that.
Right.
So now how do I cultivate and plant seeds of thrivability?
Mhm.
Mm.
Because that's City Weed's um, mission statement.
Mhm.
It's City Weeds plants seeds of independence and thrivability. And changing the language because sustainability often gets thrown out as a frisbee
Mhm.
as the goal. And I'm giving pushback on that
With
major.
thrivability, I like
Right,
that.
because
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
begin we want to start at sustainability. With any
Yeah.
Mhm.
organization that
Mhm.
wants to help me, what is a sustainable start?
Mhm.
Because we want the
Mhm.
ability to thrive. And
Right.
so we don't want the
Mhm.
ability to sustain. Because we're assuming that we're coming from negative to zero. And in
Mhm.
most cases, that's the mind state we're coming from. No, we're already sustaining because we're already doing it. We
Mhm.
want, and so sustainability is the goal of point A.
Mhm.
And then everything else is how do we get to the, thrivability.
Mhm.
Then resilience is like, wow, that must be like the word of last year
Oh,
and this
no, no,
Uh-huh.
year
no. It's really like the word of what the past 5 years. That has been, yeah.
because I spoke
Keywords.
on like maybe 2 or 3 panels or
Mm.
and that was I was a champion of resilience or and so I'm like I challenge people and I'm not going to do it because I can be real worried when you open me up.
Oh yeah, I know you
uh,
can roll.
but I would have people I
Mhm.
would challenge people to study what salience is to in
Mhm.
order for us to keep throwing around of doing it again because
Mhm.
means to do it something again. So we keep saying resilience, resilience, resilience. No one knows what salience is to my understanding. So I would challenge people to
Mhm.
look
Mm.
at the root word of salience to
Mhm.
Mhm.
understand what you're saying something is over and over again. Because I
Mhm.
Mm.
think that it would be helpful
Right.
because
Mhm.
there's a lot of words that get misused from connotation and actual usage, like the word use. Oh, I feel used, and my response to that was like, wow, then you must be useful. And
Mhm.
so most
Mm.
people when they're saying they feel used, they're more so meaning misused or abused or something of
Mhm.
that nature. And so I'm
Mm.
very literal with the actual
Mhm.
words because we spell them and we're in a podcast, so these are spells being casted. So you got to be really
Mhm.
mindful of what you're saying.
Mhm.
Mm.
You know.
Okay.
Mm.
So how can people reach you? What do you have to offer? Like, let's talk about City Weeds briefly, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
But tell us about City Weeds.
City weeds is what the city needs. You can be more clean at Be
Mhm.
More Green. Um, we can look around and we didn't receive 40 acres and a mule. So I'd
Mm.
say we can start with 40 vacant to some tools.
Ooh.
Mm.
Um,
I like
but
that.
more
Oh, he
important,
about to spit some
I was
rhymes
just
here.
getting ready to say, okay.
I got the beat. No.
and so city weeds is basically a conglomerate where it's looking to be like the
Mm.
healthy version of a like McDonald's, but just a whole build out of it. I wanted to be as synonymous with Baltimore as Crabs and
Mhm.
Oreos and Ravens, and Be More Green is like the 7-Eleven version of it. Like, okay, how do we redefine a 7-Eleven?
Mhm.
But with community outreach, like how does the corner stores around the way thrive off the community? So I was looking, how do we build something that the community can thrive off of? And redefining it from who's behind the counter, who owns it, what they look like, what they're doing, making if there's any coolness that comes with it, then I'm using that to my advantage to say, hey, you can do this and you can
Mhm.
run the corner, you can own the block, and you can drag and sag and all of that. And it doesn't have to be destruction, death, and despair. You can
Mhm.
promote health and wellness. So I
All
took
right.
really much of like a drug dealer approach with giving out food in corner stores from an equation standpoint and change the variable of the products.
Mhm.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and so
Mhm.
like next week we have what we call the prevention convention coming up. And so Monday we got meatless Mondays at Be More Green.
Mhm.
For my kids is doing a financial literacy workshop on Tuesday. Wednesday, food giveaway at Umar Boxing. That's 1217 West North Avenue. Thursday, we're having our ancestral walk tour with our partner, the Pendry, at the Pendry. It's an all-white event from 6:30 to 8:30, and we would like you to come. It's a free event. We're going to do a lot of information, a lot of healing, and that's leading up to our Juneteenth event, which is on Saturday. But on Friday, we have a job fair at the Hone Lithograph Building, as well as a food giveaway at Be More Green. And Saturday, we'll have our Juneteenth Jubilee during the day and our Juneteenth Jamboree during the evening at Be More Green,
Mhm.
2036 West North Avenue. And on Sunday, I'll be having a food giveaway at the Black Mall, which is at the garage on,
Oh
what is that?
yeah.
Um, right down the corner of Charles and Lafayette. And so and that week, and that's what we call the prevention convention. And so those are modalities to help us to prevent things from happening rather than organizations running around being ambulance chasers, waiting for something to happen. So we're getting in front of it, making sure people have food, access to resources, and places to heal.
And so you just put out a lot of stuff, but is there a website or something that they can tap
Yes,
into, or
ma'am.
how do they follow you? You know, where do they follow you at?
That's a whole nother mouthful. So yeah, my website is cityweedsbaltimore.com. You can follow me on Instagram. That's at Nellaware, Nellaware. Dominic Nell on Facebook. That might be kind of full. There's a Farmer Nell on Facebook. There's a City Weeds on Facebook. There's a Be More Green on Facebook. There's a Be More dot. There's a Be More dot Green Baltimore on Instagram, and there's an Eventbrite link for all of the events for our Juneteenth prevention convention, which can be seen on my Instagram page link, as well as all the aforementioned handles and sites.
All right.
All right.
Okay. And so then they can just come to North Avenue to
Yep.
purchase. What do they purchase there?
I have all plant-based products. I have something called COVID Killers that, from heart healthy to liver longer to the cancer answer to two miracle names that we've come up with. That we have all section that has all black-owned products and locally made wares. And we just have everything that's not in your average corner store. We have a community fridge, so if you want to come in and don't buy anything, take something out the fridge and take it home, or take it to somebody that needs it. So we have farm tables outside, so we have stuff out there pretty much every day. Or if you want to come up and bring some produce, no canned goods, produce, no milk, produce, you can put the produce out there on the farm tables at any given time, and we will handle it, or the community will just come and get it.
All right.
So we're more of a service to the community. We have Be More Green boxes, which range from $50 to $100, which is basically just a mystery box of what we have in the store. And so we're looking to have subscriptions. So if people want to support, you basically probably get like, a value of maybe $75 for $50 in items. We're also working on Snap, so people will be able to buy these health products with, alternative methods of,
Oh,
payment.
that's nice.
Mhm.
I'm interested. You know what? We're gonna stop
Stop
through
by
there
there.
on Sundays. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. But before
Yeah,
we
thank
let
you.
you go, PJ has some hot seat
Hot seat
questions.
questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Now, some of this you're going to have to answer in your mind
Oh, I
before
know.
you are vegan, but treadmill or elliptical?
Treadmill,
Okay. Chicken box or cheesesteak?
chicken box,
Chicken box. Okay. Maserati or Lamborghini?
Mozzie,
Okay. In 10 seconds, what's your favorite TV show?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Star Wars, The Mandalorian.
Okay. Star Wars, Mandalorian. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, for right now.
Okay. For right now. Okay. Snowball or frozen cup?
Snowball,
Okay. And 10 seconds, favorite vegetable?
string beans,
Okay. Drew Hill or Jodeci?
Jodeci,
Vegan or vegetarian?
vegan.
Okay.
All right. So, we're going to hand it over to Lo.
We're gonna do this real quick, y'all, because we're on a little time. But as you guys know, we have a training. It is no cost to the community. We are enrolling right now. Next class starts July 17th. And if you're wondering what type of class it is, it's solar installation. And we help with job placement assistance. We help with wraparound services. If you need just a mama to talk to for a day, we help you
We
with
got that
that
too.
too. So make sure you go to our website, power52.org/training. And you'll get a call from PJ. He'll talk to you a little bit more in detail about what we have to offer. Trust me, the world is going this way. Don't want to miss out on this opportunity.
Mhm.
We're providing it to you for at no cost. So make sure you sign up.
Look that way.
First of all, I got to press buttons on my computer. Y'all got me being a tech person. I got to talk. Yeah,
You the
we're going to have a
DJ.
meeting. We're going to have a debriefing tomorrow where I said I'm off for the
Wait a minute. When do classes start?
I
Like?
said July
No,
17th.
they need to hear that again.
She
July
yeah.
17th.
July 17th. We're enrolling
That's a
now.
couple of weeks
Enrolling
from
now.
now.
Exactly. That's about 4 weeks from now. And
Exactly.
spots are filling up quickly. So
Quickly.
come
Men
on, come
and
on, come
women.
on.
It's
Men and
not
women.
just for men.
Tell a
Women.
friend.
Right. All right. And what else
Yeah.
we got going on?
Oh, we got the wonderful golf event coming. We
Yay!
are a couple weeks out. We're so excited. It's going to be so much fun. You do not want to miss it. You guys know anything we do is not boring. It's fun. We
It's
come
live.
live
live.
all the time. And the good thing is we still have some sponsorships available. So just go click the link in the chat or scan the QR code, and you guys will be able to get there. But let's just say you can't make the golf event. You don't feel like you're a golfer. That's not really your crowd. But you can always support our mission by going to our Cash App, PayPal, Givelify, or Zelle. Just throwing a little cash that way. That works for us.
Exactly.
But also the best way is always to shop our swag. So not only are you donating that way, you can spread the word while you're out. So just go to power52.org/shop. And those are the
Shop
ways.
our swag. Definitely. And spread the word.
Oh yeah, it's me again. Is it me again? I think it
it's
is
you
for the
again.
posing. All right. So thank you. Do you like going by farmer now? I just want to make sure that we're like not doing like the wrong
I'm
thing.
not. Yeah,
But you're okay.
yeah, definitely farming. I was definitely involved, and I'd be remiss. Other entrepreneurs I was inspired by: Ice Cube, Shaquille O'Neal, 50 Cent, and of course Ray Lewis.
Oh,
All right, all
All
look at
right.
that.
right.
I
Yay.
just wasn't gonna leave it at Trump and Vince McMahon. They were like, all right,
Exactly. I was like, wait a minute now.
nah.
All right, so before you leave, we do have to take some kiss and boo photos. So we're gonna pose 4 times,
4 times.
and I'm gonna count to 3. All right, so 1, 2, 3, pose. 1, 2, 3, pose. 1, 2, 3, pose. 1, 2, 3, pose. Oh, yay. Thank
All
you.
All
right.
right. Thank you so much. But before we get out of here, remember that life is short. So remember to forgive quickly, love truly, and kiss the community with your gifts. Until next time, be good.